Good afternoon. It's 2:08 in the afternoon on Monday, August 22nd, 2022. I just wanted to capture a snippet of today's energy and where I am personally, but I happen to be in a bit of an overwhelmed state of emotion, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But one of the many things I'm working and have been working very consciously for 10 years to bring into balance is the expression and the sharing of my emotions. I am a deeply sensitive, emotional being, and with greater understanding of myself has come a much greater understanding of my emotionality and what triggers certain emotions for which we have words, but more of late, the fact that I feel emotions are feelings, that I find myself feeling things for which certainly no single word can capture, let alone sentences of explanation or multiple words. And seemingly by the experience, by the day, by the week, by the month, by the year, it just seems to be getting more and more and more challenging to share with words all the layers and the depths of what I feel as the aforementioned highly sensitive, very emotional being that Alyson is. Therefore, it is still a very big, constant adjustment because I am also a character that has a history of being extremely verbose. I love words and I communicate well. It's certainly one of my strong points, my communication skill sets, and being able to do so through multiple mediums, writing, speaking. Clearly, my cat has does what she wants. She had to make her appearance known in this video, as so often is the case. What was I saying? Less and less words are being able to be enough. And as somebody who loves words, and as somebody who also has a lot to say, I no longer have the need to say it, all these things, like I once did, because of a greater understanding of myself and just all the intricacies and complexities and connections that made me tick. So I no longer have the same level of need to try to use my words and to express and share, which is certainly freeing to some extent. But I still feel called to do so. I still enjoy when I do communicate these deep things and when it happens to reach someone who receives it in the way it's delivered. When somebody is aided in some way by what I share. That that is something that I desire. That is something that makes me feel good. But I'm just I'm just still working to find what is just an accelerating rate of change within myself that keeps happening. And I can't seem to, as soon as I feel like I find a balance point, something else happens, and it just ends up being a seemingly on the surface minor thing, but a monumental reconciliation on all the layers of my self-awareness. And I do have this desire, and I think a gift to share. But it's still mostly new, unprecedented, being in the personal place that I'm at and trying to find this balance. And today has been a very emotional morning for a number of reasons. And again, it's not bad. It's just I'm more reticent to share when I'm in a state where my emotions are more out of balance than, when they're heightened, when I'm still in the throes of feeling something deeply and processing it as a means by which to get to that balance point. In the past, I didn't have the awareness to be reticent, to be aware of to what I was opening myself up when sharing in those states of vulnerability. Because really, certainly in the world that we live in at present, the mass world, the external world, I would say more often than not, being emotional, being intimate, being, willing to share the depths and the spectrum beyond the balance point when you're a little on one side of a middle point or another is vulnerability, is being vulnerable. And historically, that opens you up to things and ramifications and consequences that probably are less quote unquote positive than quote unquote negative. So I've learned the hard way to be much, much more aware of what I share, when I share, and with whom I share. But I did want to capture just a bit of today's energy. One, because I always love and honor how unique every single moment is. So capturing where I am right now, I'll never again be where I am right now. Therefore, every moment from that perspective deserves to be honored, which is another layer of why I feel I've been in this place of really, really taking my sharing or lack thereof to a whole nother level of consciousness and conscious awareness of what I'm doing. Each moment is so special. And so if I would have waited till tomorrow, some of the aspects that I feel are vulnerable but beautiful to share would have been missed because I'll be further processed through tomorrow what I'm still kind of hitting head on today. Because I don't like to stay mired in my processing of any particular experience or emotion for too long. I really aim to find that balance point. If I get triggered in one direction or another, kind of try to get at it, head on directly. Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? And then really peel that back. So again, I don't know that this share will be for anybody but myself. Maybe I'll end up cutting out a snippet, but there's such value, I feel, for this, but it's select. It's not really, being willing to throw something like this out there publicly in any way. The chance of it being received by others who really get it or feel it or affected by it in the way that I would love for it to affect people or be received, which is only positively and to serve it's slim. It's slim because it's really only folks that are diving that deep within the details of their life. And I'm not trying to judge anybody by suggesting that that is a not a huge number, but you know, going through the motions. I don't have a regular life. I don't have a routine, I don't have family. I don't have a set job that I go to every day. Like I very purposely have been removed myself from that many years ago. And I'm not trying to judge those for whom that works and those that are able to find fulfillment and happiness within that. But that's not my path. And I know I'm not alone in terms of beings that also don't resonate or aren't called to have that more regular, controlled, mainstream approach to this particular lifetime. And it's to those folks that really my channel, my YouTube channel, and my sharing has been directed at from moment one. People that are, really making their way to trailblaze their own path and who aren't doing it to piss anybody off. They're not doing it to try to be different and stir the pot on purpose to upset anybody. They're doing it because they can't not do it. I don't know how else. I'm not called to follow the rules for the sake of rules. And the regular path is not one that ever called me or made sense to me. Or I can't do it. and also say that I'm honoring my soul and honoring and loving myself. I have to be my own independent person. And forging that life and doing just that to the nth degree for the past, really since 2010, but at a whole new level 10 years ago, 2012. Whew, hardest thing I've ever done, by far. Harder than all the hardest things I ever did in that mainstream world of trying to fit into that put together don't even come close to the challenge that it has been to connect to the greater essence and to feel who I am well beyond just the character of Alyson and to figure out how to live that truth in a world that is not designed for unique, sovereign, independent individuals making their way. We live in a world that conformity, groups, identities, labels, giving our power away, that's the mass world. And so it's a very, very, very different journey. And all along, I've been sharing my journey for the benefit of all of those beings out there who are also being called to this particular way of journeying through life. It's not better than the mainstream, more traditional path, but it is extremely different. And being that it is unique, wholly unique to each and every one of us, I don't ever share as if I'm some sort of, I have all the answers. Certainly not that I am ever, nor ever want to be in a place, nor could I ever be in a place where I can tell somebody what's best for them. No way. Do I think I touch upon and share greater truths with a capital T? Absolutely. That's not Alyson. That's spirit working through Alyson. And we all have those truths within us, and we all know those truths. There are grand truths, universal cosmic truths. This time space dimension has made it unbelievably challenging to identify what those truths are. But I do believe we feel them. But I also believe that those same truths can be expressed very differently through the unique beings that we each are. But I will never, nor have I ever claimed or wanted to claim, that I have any place ever to tell anybody what's best for them or what I think of their world. I've just been sharing my journey as an example, as a reference point for others to use in whatever way suits them best. And the goal for me, the intention is to make their journey even just a smidget easier. Because it's a fucking hard journey. It is a hard journey. And I'm not saying the mainstream path isn't challenging and hard. It is too. But I don't believe it has to be as hard as it's been. But learning how to make it easy. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I opened myself up and have opened up my journey. In part because I don't believe it has to be as hard as it's been. And if somebody can find any sort of comfort, any sort of reassurance, any sort of inspiration, any sort of anything that keeps them going on their own journey, then I've done and met all I want to do. Are there other nuanced pieces and details? Sure. Sure. I mean, holy crap. Do I want to be channeling these things and finding a way to manifest all of this into a way where I can support myself in this time space dimension, giving my attention and my efforts towards further co-creation in that version of reality, in these higher frequencies, serving others who are doing this work as well? Absolutely. Absolutely. I do not believe we're here to keep settling for a mass reality that still surrounds us. But I also know the external is a mirroring of our internal. And I know there are many pockets of people that have found very beautiful niches within our current external mass reality, where they are able to do just that, what I explained. They're able to live and share their uniqueness, their gifts on their terms, and support themselves doing it. And it's a matter of me just continuing to do my inner work and inner alignment and inner balance to attract those opportunities. And it's constant. For me, most every choice has to be highly evaluated. What am I choosing? Because when it's opportunity cost, basic economics. If I'm choosing A, that means B and C and D and all the rest are not, they're if you're choosing A, then you're not choosing all of these things. So there's a cost at what would happen if I would have chosen B and not chosen A. And a lot of times we will never know, what could have been, what would have been if we made a different choice. But when you make a choice, something else is not being chosen. And because I have had such a unique work life for the past 10 years, I literally make a choice every day. In this case, I'm evaluating what has been one of my primary sources of income and a family, and to what degree I can honor myself and still be a part of it. And that's a very, very real thing that faces me. Um, and it's not something that anybody else can answer for me. And I long ago stopped giving away my power like I was for the first 35, 40 years of this life to others and their opinions of my life. I'm not sharing ever because I'm looking for somebody else's input on my choices. I'm trying to share my process, and I'm trying to share it with the specifics, of course, of a story, of an experience, but with simultaneously an awareness of a more general theme that can help somebody else. So they take that theme in their life, and I'm opening myself up to details in an effort to share a theme and how I've worked through it, just as an example for somebody else as a reference point. And the high level theme that has dominated the past 10 years is self love. Stop self sacrificing, which then is kind of closely related to victim consciousness without really, almost in this backwards martyr type way. Not that I was ever trying to do that, but not, again, this gets into more of the nuanced understanding of myself and my choices and my feelings. But looking out for me and my own well being. My home conditioned me from my youth where I just didn't ever know how to do that. And so then I took that pattern into adulthood where I was making decisions for something outside of me first, for the pleasing of others outside of me, for the harmony, not to upset others. Like it was just always, I didn't know how to look out for myself. And I definitely did not have a deep self love. And that is a hard pattern, very hard pattern to break, especially if you've never seen a reflection in the world externally. It's like I'm still learning what that even looks like. To not settle, to work for somebody that values me, that appreciates me, that sees me, that cares about me, and not just serving themselves. So that's only one layer of this morning's, this afternoon's processing and emotional spectrum. And I just kind of glazed it. I didn't go into any detail. I'm going to conclude for now just because, like I said, I don't know that any of this will be shared. I just wanted to capture a little bit of today's energy, and I haven't done any sort of recording in a month. So I was hoping that I would capture something a little bit, that I would be pulled into something later this week or at some point this week. And I still kind of have that hope, but I can't force this anymore. Not that I ever was forcing it. I've just gotten so much wiser in the sharing. And I really am only trying to share when a communication is at an even higher sort of frequency, than before, like as a bare minimum. So before, when I first started, as arbitrary kind of like, if you think of it as frequencies, I just didn't have the discernment. So I was sharing almost everything. And then learning how to mature into having a higher standard for what I was sharing, knowing that the ultimate purpose is to serve, and just having to mature into, through really hard experiences, how triggering a lot of my sharing is, and feeling the adverse, experiencing indirectly and directly the adverse reactions or non reactions in more cases than not of people. And that's not fun, like I don't want to open myself up for even more suffering than I bring on all by myself. So it's just really, I'm not going to expose myself haphazardly. And I'm more mature now and a little bit wiser, even though it still may come across to people that I'm sharing in the same way as I've ever shared. I don't care that they don't know that. I know. I know what I'm still striving to manifest. I know what my intentions are. I may not be able to communicate it well or clearly yet, but I know I have to keep going. And so that's kind of just what today is. I'm going to keep going. I have to keep putting the energy out there fearlessly. I have to keep learning how to detach from any and all reactions. But I also have to keep learning that the lessons of the wisdom in it all. And as I do that, and essentially honor, I'm really trying to honor ultimately the work that spirit has intended to do through me in this life. And I just have to have continued patience and trust, because I'm definitely not, it's definitely still a struggle for me to feel as if I have so much to share and contribute of value to serve in practical physical realms, the co-creation and the manifestation of a real different version of a mass reality. I can't force it. I can't force it. And I do have to be at peace for real with exactly where I am, and with the fact that this may always be where I am. Meaning, I have to remain open to the fact that maybe I'm not intended to share or play the role that I still feel as if, I am. I have to continue to humbly travel my journey. But right now, I still feel like I have a lot to contribute that can be and is of value. But I just haven't found that niche of of the community or the people that can agree that it does have value. And it doesn't help that the vision I'm trying to weave together is so massive, and that I have the ability, it seems, less and less by the day to express it with words. I have to keep living this vision as I've been for 10 years, and trust and surrender, and to really be at peace with, maybe I'm completely delusional in what my soul still feels like it's working to guide me towards, in my life. So we'll leave it at that. And perhaps I'll show more later in the week. Okay. Be well.